A viral video claims that a $30 attic hack can work better than a $6,000 central air conditioning system. It sounds incredible, but when you calculate the actual physics, one popular version of this trick stops working in only a few minutes. The real solution may be sitting on the same hardware store shelf. Imagine the scene. A mid-July afternoon in the American suburbs. The sun is beating down on asphalt shingles, turning the roof deck into a radiator that glows with intense thermal energy. Upstairs, a homeowner is pacing in a sweltering bedroom, listening to the hum of an air conditioner that has been running non-stop for hours. The electricity bill is climbing. The house feels like an oven, and the internet promises a miracle cure, hanging cotton fabric in the attic to create a cool, refreshing breeze. It feels like common sense. We know that a wet cloth on our forehead cools us down, so why wouldn't it work for an entire attic? But as we peel back the layers of this viral claim, we find that the difference between an internet myth and an actual engineering solution comes down to the fundamental laws of thermodynamics. The viral cotton attic hack relies on a simple premise: evaporative cooling. The theory suggests that by hanging sheets of cotton or muslin in the attic, the fabric will absorb moisture from the air during the cool, humid night. When the sun rises and the attic temperatures soar, that moisture is supposed to evaporate, absorbing heat from the surrounding air and lowering the temperature. On the surface, this sounds perfectly reasonable. We know that evaporation is an endothermic process. It requires energy to turn water from a liquid into a gas, and that energy is pulled from the surrounding environment. It is the same reason why a wet bandana around your neck feels refreshing on a hike, or why a misting fan cools a patio. However, the fatal flaw in this hack is the concept of capacity. Even if you were to hang dozens of yards of fabric, cotton can only hold a finite amount of water. Once that moisture has evaporated into the attic air, the cooling effect stops instantly. Let us look at the math. A few square yards of lightweight fabric might retain a small quantity of water under normal conditions. As the sun hits the roof, the temperature inside the attic spikes rapidly, often exceeding 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That moisture will evaporate completely within a very short window of time, perhaps only 15 or 20 minutes of a long, brutal afternoon. Once the fabric is dry, you are left with nothing more than ordinary dry cloth hanging in a hot, stagnant attic. It provides no further cooling, no radiant shield, and no long-term benefit. The cotton trick is not completely imaginary. It uses a real physical process, but it is entirely insufficient for the scale of the problem. A wet bandana can cool your neck temporarily, but it cannot fight the massive continuous influx of solar radiation that hammers a roof for 8 to 10 hours every single day. The fabric dries, the heat continues to pour in, and the homeowner is left with nothing but a damp, dusty mess in their crawl space. So, if the cotton hack fails, what actually works? This brings us to the perforated aluminum radiant barrier. Unlike cotton, which tries to absorb heat energy, aluminum works by changing how heat is transferred. When solar radiation strikes your roof, it heats the shingles, the felt, and the roof deck. That heat then radiates downward toward your attic floor and your living space. A radiant barrier is a highly reflective surface that acts like a mirror for thermal energy. When installed properly, it reflects a significant portion of that radiant heat back toward the roof deck instead of allowing it to penetrate into the insulation and the ceiling. The aluminum does not need to be wet. It does not rely on stored water, and its reflective properties do not disappear after a few minutes of sunlight. It is a passive, durable, and consistent barrier that works as long as the sun is shining. However, there is a catch that many DIY enthusiasts miss. The reflective surface is only half of the system. The air gap is the other half. Radiant heat transfer requires a medium or a space to move through. If you press a radiant barrier directly against the hot roof deck or bury it deep within insulation, you are creating a path for heat to move by conduction, which effectively kills the benefit of the reflective surface. To function correctly, the radiant barrier must be installed with an adjacent airspace, allowing the material to reflect the heat while the air gap acts as an insulator. Without that airspace, you are essentially just wrapping your attic in a thin metal sheet that will eventually heat up and transfer that energy directly to whatever it is touching. The physics are clear. Reflective surfaces manage radiation, but they must be paired with proper installation geometry to succeed. And this is where a simple attic project can become complicated for a contractor. You have material costs, labor, attic size, safety equipment, travel time, ventilation repairs, customer approvals, photographs, invoices, and follow-up appointments. Keeping all of that organized is just as important as understanding the installation itself. Managing a home service business is not just about the tools you use in the attic. It is about the systems you use in the office. Invoice1pro.net helps construction and home service businesses create professional estimates and invoices, organize customers, schedule projects, track income and expenses, save job notes, and use artificial intelligence to help manage the business, all from one system. Whether you are a solo handyman or a team of insulation installers, the administrative burden can be overwhelming. Invoice1pro.net streamlines the paperwork, allowing you to focus on quality workmanship rather than chasing down payments or losing track of project details. So, while the radiant barrier helps control heat inside the attic, Invoice1pro.net helps contractors control the paperwork, scheduling, pricing, and financial side of the job. It is the professional standard for those who take their trade seriously. Once you have your logistics in order, you must approach the installation with extreme caution. Attics are not playgrounds. They are often hazardous environments. They can reach temperatures that lead to heat stroke in minutes. Never work alone in such conditions. Always wear long sleeves, gloves, eye protection, and appropriate respiratory protection, especially when working near fiberglass or blown-in insulation, which can irritate the skin and lungs. Use secure attic walkboards to avoid stepping between ceiling joists, which could lead to a dangerous fall through the drywall. Be hyper-aware of electrical wiring and damaged cables hidden beneath the insulation. You must maintain the required clearance around recessed lights, chimneys, flues, and exhaust pipes, as these represent significant fire hazards. Before you start, confirm whether your recessed fixtures are insulation contact rated and never block soffit vents, ridge vents, or gable vents. The radiant barrier is meant to reflect heat, but your attic still needs to breathe. Blocking your ventilation channels can lead to moisture buildup, mold growth, and premature roof failure. Always follow local building and fire codes, and if your attic has unsafe access, vermiculite insulation, or limited space, hire a qualified professional. It is vital to understand that a radiant barrier is not a replacement for insulation. Fiberglass, cellulose, and foam are designed to resist conductive heat flow, the movement of heat through solid materials. A radiant barrier addresses the heat that travels through the air as radiation. They are two different tools for two different problems. A healthy home is a holistic system. Before installing a radiant barrier, ensure your attic is properly air-sealed to stop conditioned air from leaking out of your living space. Make sure your insulation is at the recommended depth for your climate zone. Check that your soffit and ridge vents are clear to allow for natural convection. If your air conditioning ducts are leaking, no amount of radiant barrier will fix the inefficiency of your HVAC system. Often, the comfort problems homeowners experience are caused by leaky ducts, missing insulation, or an undersized AC unit. A radiant barrier is a powerful addition to a well-maintained home, but it cannot fix the fundamental failures of a house that is not properly sealed or insulated. So, what kind of results can you actually expect? Radiant barriers are most effective in hot, sunny climates where solar gain on the roof is the primary driver of attic heat. If your AC ducts are located in the attic, a radiant barrier can make a noticeable difference in the cooling load, potentially reducing the runtime of your air conditioner. However, do not fall for the exaggerated claims of a 50-degree temperature drop or a guaranteed miracle cure. Results vary wildly based on roof color, the orientation of your home, the quality of your ventilation, and the specific design of your attic. The only honest way to know the result is to measure the home before and after installation under similar weather conditions. Use an infrared thermometer to track the roof deck, the attic air temperature, and the temperature of your ceiling. Monitor your electricity usage over several weeks. A radiant barrier will not create cold air. It will simply reduce the amount of heat that your air conditioner has to fight. The viral cotton trick points toward a real idea: controlling heat before it reaches the rooms below. But a small piece of fabric cannot provide continuous evaporative cooling throughout the day. A properly selected and correctly installed radiant barrier uses a more durable mechanism, reducing radiant heat transfer. But aluminum is not magic. It needs an air gap, proper ventilation, safe installation, adequate insulation, and realistic expectations. The best home cooling strategy is not one miracle material, it is a complete system. Before climbing into your attic, measure the problem. Inspect the insulation and ventilation, read the product instructions, and calculate whether the improvement makes sense for your specific home. Would you install a radiant barrier in your attic? Or do you think improving insulation and ventilation should come first? Leave your answer in the comments and subscribe for more construction myths, forgotten home technologies, and practical building science. The path to a comfortable home is built on physics, not viral trends. Take the time to do it right, and your home and your wallet will thank you for years to come.